Hi, I'm Berg, and here at Vogue Fabrics we have the bias tape cutting ruler available for you. This helps you cut biased trim that will fit into the Clover bias tape makers, which are the best ones you can get. So I'm going to fold my fabric so that the cut edge and the salve edge join together, and sometimes I cut it again to make sure that it's fitting under my ruler. I'm going to take an initial cut to even off that edge. And then I can use this ruler to cut whatever width of bias that I prefer, that I need for my project or for my tape maker. You lay it on the fabric, and because it's got the slot in the center, it's going to hold the fabric edges on both sides so your bias can't wiggle. Slide your rotary cutter into the slot and cut. You need to cut hard to get through all your layers. This is one of my favorite notions. This is the Clover bias tape maker. They come in several different widths. They come with slots in them now so they can accept these tapes, so you can make yourself some fusible bias tape, which is handy for embellishment and also for quilt bindings. What you'll do is cut with your Clover bias tape cutting ruler your bias strips. You'll join them together and then cut them to a point. If your fabric is soft and squishy, be sure to spray it first with Sullivan's Fabric Stabilizer. Right side up. This is how you place it into the tape maker. Using your stiletto, you can kind of poke it in, and then when you see it in the window, just draw it through with the stiletto until it comes out the other end, and you'll already see it starting to fold. I like the Clover makers because they actually fold bias the proper way. One side will be slightly offset from the other, a little bit shorter, so that when you fold it in half, there's an upside and a downside. Lightly just kind of pull on the bias tape maker, trying not to stretch the bias too much, and if you have a long way to go, I kind of stick my stiletto into my ironing board so it can hang on to the tail. And then just draw this through the tape maker as you go. And it will fold your bias into a perfect, custom-made bias tape. There are many kinds of bias tape folders and makers and attachers, and this is one that people are most familiar with. But there's one out there that actually can accept different sizes of bias. This is an adjustable bias tape maker. So it'll fit pre-made bias that you purchase, but it'll also fit the ones that you make with your Clover bias tape maker. The first thing you want to do is load the bias into the foot, and make sure that the short part of the bias, the short fold, is on the top of the bias when you do this. Cut it at an angle, and then get your stiletto handy. Open the guide with this little screw. It slides the holder opening back and forth. Open up the folded bias, insert it into the foot. Your stiletto can help you slide it through all the way under the foot. At this point, what you want to do is adjust the fold of this. So you're going to push the guide in further to hold it securely, but not pinching it so that it can't move. So make sure that it's in there, but not tight. That's a good adjustment. Now I'm going to put the bias tape plier foot onto the machine, and I'm going to start the bias first. So you're always going to start this out a little bit first to make sure that it's catching the side of the bias that needs to be caught. And when you're ready to go, take your stiletto once again and feed this piece of fabric in that's to be bound right up into the fold of the bias tape. Your stiletto can help you get it right up to the needle. And once they're together, it's just a matter of you holding them together at the opening of the foot. This will give you very quick application of bias that will be very professional looking. Now, this is the size of bias that is very difficult to apply without a foot. And yet I'm doing this very easily, and it looks very professional when you're finished. And that is the bias tape, adjustable bias tape foot. It's available for low shank machines as well as for Vikings.